From first hunts to lifelong traditions, we're here to honor the heritage, hear the passion, and connect through the stories that make us all hunters. Grab your gear, find your stand, and listen in as we share another journey that shapes a hunter's legacy. This episode is brought to you by Logic Hunt, an app designed for the future of hunting, helping you prepare with purpose and pursue with precision. What's going on, man?
Nothing, man. I'm waiting for deer season, man. I can't wait. I didn't draw any turkey tags this year in Delaware or New Jersey, so I am just waiting for bow season, man. And our season opens up the September 1st, so.
September 1st?
Yeah. And Delaware, and then in Jersey, I hunt extreme South Jersey, Cape May, Cumberland County. That don't open up till almost October, so that's a wait for that. But I do most of my hunting in southern Delaware over here where I live, because Jersey's just it's like they're like dogs. They're super small. I mean, if you kill over there, you kill 110, 120 inch every year. You're like an Andre D'Acquisto out there. You know what I mean?
I thought you were going to say 110, 120 pounds.
They don't get that big either. Honestly, you're killing bucks 100 pounds there, 120.
Are you
pounds.
kidding?
Yeah, they don't get real big. I mean, up in like Salem County, up in northern New Jersey. I used to talk to a guy named Paul. He's been on a few podcasts. He lives way up in like Wayne, Sussex County, New Jersey. They got some pretty good deer up there, but they have the habitat, they have the food up there, the farms and everything else. Down where I live, these deer in South Jersey, they're eating their hostas and the tulips in your backyard and the grass. They don't get many inches on them, and they don't get real heavy, man. And bait piles everywhere you go. There's bait everywhere. I don't bait. I used to, but I mean, everywhere you go in the woods on state property is bait.
Before we move on, so we're here with Robert. I met Robert on TikTok. So Robert, why don't you share a little bit about who you are, a little bit on the personal life before we kind of go on to talk some deer hunting?
Sure. My name's Rob Loper. I am 51 next Sunday, retired correctional officer. Love the bow hunt, married, got 3 kids, live in New Jersey, Freedom, South Jersey, Cape May County, and Sussex County, Delaware, Milton. I work for Sherman-Williams. I deliver paint to job sites all the time. So real easy to get along with. I'm real laid back. That's about it, man. I don't really, all I think of is hunting. That's all I think of.
So you're retired to correction officer, huh?
Yeah. We can go through 3 podcasts of stories if you ever want to hear any stories.
So how does that work if you retired so early from a correction officer? You just wanted to step away from it or what?
Well, you only have to do 25 years, and I chose myself to do 20 years. So I said I had enough. I have a lot of mental issues with that, PTSD and some depression because of that. And because of the job, and I've been through a lot of crap through that place, and I don't miss it. I might miss 5 people in the entire place. So came home one day, and I had major mental breakdown. And I said to my wife, I can't do this no more. I can't go back. She says, well, I don't know how you lasted this long. I don't know why you stayed this long. And I said, well, health benefits, pension, etc. That's why I stayed. And my kids are super supportive. So I'm semi-retired. I still need to work, but I do have, if I stay on the couch all day, I still have something coming home. But my wife owns her own business, and she probably makes a lot more money, but it's nice.
So what, if you don't mind me asking, so what caused all the anxiety?
Seen a lot of messed up stuff, man. Just, I love my brothers in blue, but, just like you see on social media, just like you see on the news, there is some very few bad eggs. And, I've seen a lot of that, I think the problem is with that, and I don't want to get off hunting at all, but I think the problem, in my honest opinion, is they're hiring these guys too young. They're hiring these guys and putting guns and uniforms on them, giving them authority at 19, 20 years old in New Jersey, right out of high school. And I think some people, it goes to their heads, it really does. And it's a sad thing. I think we have a really bad pension problem with the budget and all that. They're always complaining about the guys retiring too young. Stop hiring these guys at 19. Wait till they're mature, 25, 26, and then hire them. Then you'll have them another 5 years. There's a lot into it that, we could talk about that all day, man. It's just, it was just a nasty, ugly place. Maximum security prison. I had baby rapers, baby molesters, murderers, you name it. I had it. I've seen them. I do have a really good friend of mine. He's my brother-in-law. He got me through a lot through that place. So he worked with me, but that sucker retired before me, about 4 or 5 years before me, so he got out pretty early. I do want to add, it's not a bad job, but I think that I'm a really nice guy, and I'm not saying I was soft. I was fair. I talked to everybody. I treated everybody fair, but I was firm. You know what I mean? That's how you got to be. You can't go on the street or in that jail and try to act like you're some kind of tough guy, and you're not. And I'm not a tough guy, man. I get along with everybody. I really try to, but doing 20 years in that place, listen, man, I'm going to be totally honest with you. That training that they have every year and the PTC that I went through, police control or police training commission, I went through the academy. They really put a lot of bad things in your head. They really
Really?
do. Yeah, they do. They put a lot of bad things in your head. Don't trust anybody. You can't trust a soul. Things like that. And I don't want to say race, but there is a lot of don't trust certain people. I will say that. And I had a hard time through my career like that. It was just a rough ride, man. And I got my 20 years, and I said, you know what, I gotta get the hell out of here. So, and I tell you, if I did not have bow hunting, I wouldn't be here, dude. I've tried to commit suicide twice.
I'm sorry to hear that. I've kind of had some mental struggles in the past. Luckily, I kind of figured that out. But that was definitely a complete different direction than what I thought you were gonna go. I thought
Yeah.
be completely caused by the intakes, not necessarily the coworkers.
Well, no, it's a little of both. Let me backpedal a little bit. A lot of it was from the inmates. A lot of it was from the guys I worked with too. There was a lot of idiots in there that just thought they were tough guys with a uniform on, and seen a lot of bad stuff, man. A lot of violence. It's so hard to describe when you have to leave a place where they tell you and ingrain into your mind every day that you can't trust a soul here or there anywhere. I don't care who you are. Don't trust anybody. And it's hard to hear that gate shut behind you, get in your truck and take and leave it there. It's very hard. I was very judgmental on people for a long time. I wasn't racist or anything like that. I'm not saying like that, but the department training sucks, man. It just sucks. Now I retired in 2017. I pray for my brothers every day. I hope they changed a lot of things, but I don't know. I don't talk to anybody there. I just choose not to. I just don't want to go back to that place. I burnt my uniforms. I get a little emotional because I do miss people. I'm sorry, man. You don't know me from Adam, and I don't want to get emotional, but I do get emotional talking about this stuff because it was tough on my family. It really was. And hunting was my out, man. It really was. If, like I said earlier, if I didn't have deer hunting, I wouldn't be here, man. I really wouldn't. I would not be here. And I take hunting, and I'm sure you've looked over a lot of my stuff. I mean, I hope you did. I try to help people, but it's difficult because, and I think we had this little bit of chat before, like it's very difficult for me as a guy from South Jersey that's killing 110, 120-inch bucks every year, 2 or 3 does every year, for guys that are out. Don't take me wrong, no offense. That guys that live in the Midwest that are chasing 150, 160, 150-inch deer is nothing anymore. I mean, honestly, if you look on all these guys are chasing 180, 190, 200-inch deer. They come out to Cape May, New Jersey, or Belle Plaine State Forest in Cape May County, and they're laughing at me. This guy ain't killing nothing. So it's very difficult for me to help because I'm really into helping people learn the right way, learn to not take shortcuts, how to be better woodsmen, and recruitment. Because I think hunters, we need hunters, man. We really do. You probably notice, as much as anybody, we really need hunters. So I'm sorry I got emotional, but I'm a wimp when it comes to that. So
No, it's good. We definitely appreciate you sharing. I've
yeah.
worked a job that I dreaded getting in the vehicle driving to every day, and luckily I found something different. But definitely understand where you're coming from, and everybody goes through struggles, and this is a real life podcast.
That's right, man. And
You think everybody's got stuff going on. You think
yeah,
everybody's all happy-go-lucky until you actually get to know them.
yeah. And I'll tell you, man, is if you see a cop, give him a hug, man. Just tell him you respect him. Because it scares me because there's so much hate towards law enforcement. And there's so much distrust towards them these days. And it might go against what I was saying earlier a little bit, but we aren't the bad guys, man. We're really not. And I want to get that out there. And I know it has nothing to do with hunting, but still, I'm trying to be personal with people. Go say thank you. If I see a police officer nowadays and a military guy, I live Dover, is less than Dover Air Force Base is less than 30 minutes from me. I see military guys every day in the Wawa and say, yo, man, thanks. That's all it takes sometimes. All it takes. Just thank them. Cops, EMTs, firemen. Just tell them thanks, man. I appreciate what you're doing because you know what, man? I tell you, like, I remember a few years ago and all that crap that was going on was defund the police. I know what, when you're clinched up, you're going to want to help. And when they're
Hmm.
defunding police, good luck. You better know how to defend yourself because if they do ever do defund police in certain cities at all, like they wanted to, the help ain't coming. It's not coming.
Yeah, yeah.
That's me.
No, that's great. I appreciate you sharing that, and it gives people a better taste of what we're trying to do here.
Yeah.
A couple episodes coming down the pipeline. One guy is cop in Georgia. He worked on narcotics, and well, by the time this gets launched, those will
Yeah.
be played. But
Yeah.
then another guy that actually served in Afghanistan. Him and his wife both did. That's where they met. So
Oh man, that's even tougher. I couldn't imagine. Couldn't imagine. Guys that are sent over there for a year, it changed their lives. It changes everything, everything, their whole perspective in lives and everything. If you're not put in that environment or through that experience, you don't realize it. You just don't. In my opinion, you just don't realize it, and you just don't know what people are going through.
well, cool.
Yeah,
I suppose we could probably move on to some good stuff. Definitely appreciate
sure.
you sharing that. But you
Yeah, yeah.
said hunting was your getaway. How'd you get started hunting?
I got started hunting. My brothers were all in the hunting. My whole family were commercial fishermen out of Cape May, and then my father got older and he got out of it, and my brothers went into the clamming business. And actually, my one brother was a huge clammer for years. He was actually, if you know the race car driver Martin Truex Jr.,
Yep.
his dad and his uncle Barney Truex and old man Martin, I know them personally, and I've been around them back in the early 90s, all over the docks and everything. They're commercial clammers. They were back then. I think they're pretty retired now, but I know young Marty. I know Martin Jr. Truex. I remember him running around the dock. He's a little younger than me. My brothers were commercial fishermen, and then they would come home and we would go out. You know, we'd go hunting. We hunted a lot of state land, and when I was young, we did a lot of rabbit hunting. Lots of rabbit hunting, and then we finally got into deer hunting once my brother slowed down, sold all the boats, got out of it, and bought a sporting clay range. Fun, very fun. If you want to try something fun, go sporting clay shooting. And I worked there. He says, "Well, if you work it, I'll let you hunt it anywhere you want." So kill a lot of deer up there, and that was a good area up there in Salem County. That was back in the mid '90s, and then he was a big baiter. He taught me the most. He would put a ladder stand up, throw a corn pile down 25 yards, and sit there. And I hunted like that for quite a while. And then I kind of like met my wife. We, did our thing and moved on with our lives and got away from hanging with my brother every single day and got away from hunting every single day. But once I started at the jail in the late '90s, I got back into it because I got friends with it, friends that were deer hunters and come, let's go here, blah, blah, blah. And then I got into baiting again for a couple of years, and then I got so tired of it. I wasn't seeing what I wanted to see, killing what I wanted to kill. So I started doing a lot of research on deer behavior, and their reactions, how they react to conditions, the winds, and pressure was the biggest thing. I would learn it, take an area, and just pick it apart, like, okay, you got a thicket over here the does are living in, and the bucks are not too far over here on this certain wind during pressure. When they're not pressured, they're up by the food source, and the does are the same. That's how I got into hunting with my family, and I moved away from hunting with my family because I wanted to learn more about the animal, and I wanted to kill better animals. I'm going on hunting 30 some years now. Here I am. So I don't bait. I'm 100% mobile. I am a saddle hunter. I've been in a saddle since the mid 2000s, before it was the cool thing to do. I started with a sling And then I bought one of the old school original trophy line saddles with the green suspenders. I don't know if you ever seen one of them or not. And then I've had several saddles since then. And I've had my Cruiser XC. I love my Cruiser XC. I'm a big dude, so it fits me well. It's comfortable. No hip pinch. I can't see me changing that until I fall out of the tree. So I use 3B sticks, and I use a fixed platform from Loper Custom Gear. I used to be really close with Andre D'Acquisto. Actually, Dan Infalt too, but me and him had a little falling out. Andre turned me on to all his new stuff back in 18 or 19, and I love his things, but I do love the B sticks. They're my favorite sticks. So depending on the situation, I use 1 to 3 B sticks. I don't get much higher than that. I'm too goddamn big. Depending on mobile, every time I go out, I just got an e-bike, which is going to help a lot getting to and from.
That would be fun.
Yeah. So that's it, man. My family got me into it, and I've been probably pretty much a lone wolf since probably the mid 2000s. Since I got into saddle hunting, man, I just pop all over the place. If I see a spot, I go in blind. I'll go into a spot, and if I don't find the right sign, man, I go back to the truck. I don't waste my time. You know what I mean? So that's my story of hunting, how I got into it.
Pinpointing trees ahead of time?
Yeah, it's a tough way to hunt. It really is. It's a tough way to hunt, but I enjoy it. I love the challenge. But I go into an area. I cyber scout it first, and I'll ride by it on the way home or something like that. Or I'll see a buck in that field. I do a lot of glassing in the summer, so I'll go a lot of my areas and glass, see where they're hanging, blah blah blah. And then if they're hanging in a new spot, I'll say, ooh, if it's public, of course, I'll go in there blind. You know what I mean? I'll go in there blind about lunchtime, 1 o'clock, if I can get in there super, super early. And that's a long sit, but it helps. It really does. And I will scout until I find sign that I want to see. It's just screaming at me, yo, hunt here in this tree or hunt over here. And it was very important to me over the years to do the research and to learn how to interpret what science telling you to do, because anybody can go in the woods and find rubs and scrapes and sit over it, and then you're just guessing. And I'm not saying I'm like some master deer whisperer or something like that, or deer killer, but there's not many things I've been good at, but that's one thing I've been good at my whole life is getting on deer. I might have 2 spikes go under me or something bigger, but I don't get a shot. But when I do that, I usually get my eyes on something that's there he is, or there's one I didn't know was here. So it's all learning. Every time I go out, I learn something. So
I'm guessing you're not going in blind before the sun comes up.
no, I go in gray light. I do 95% of my hunting in the afternoon. Sometimes I think outside of the rut, I think are very, to me, where I hunt. And I don't want to say that you shouldn't do it. Like, guys are very successful in killing deer all times of the year in the morning. To me, in my experience of how I hunt, I just don't see the benefits of going outside of the rut in the morning. I'd rather get my stuff done and go in and say, okay, let me take this experience or knowledge that I know of that area at that time of year. I know that buck's going to be bedding in that little spot, in that bigger bedding area, in that little spot on this wind. So I'm not going to go spook him in the morning, because he's going to be back. Usually they're back by their beds before daylight, way before daylight outside the rut. During the rut, I go in any time, because, a lot of these bucks, they're throwing safety out the door. I've walked up on bucks mating days, in the woods, and I'm like, wow, that was cool. I wish I had my phone on. The rut's a different world, man. It is. Everybody knows that's it's a magic time, man. But I like to outsmart bucks outside of the rut. That's my whole MO, man. I just do. I think if you can figure out a buck outside of the rut, you're doing something. You're doing something. And I know a lot of guys that do it, man. They're really good at it.
It's definitely a different challenge. It's easier to pattern bucks, but at the same time, it's less likely for a mature buck to present a shot.
It is. And you're absolutely right. Through my experiences, I think guys get very frustrated outside of the rut. They'll go in and hunt a little bit of the early season or pre-rut, or something like that, where it's all entryways. It really is. I hear it a million times, and they're right. If you go in the right way and that buck's bedding in a certain area or something like that, and if you go in there, it's got to be 100% correct, or you're beat. Guys will do it. They'll go in there and set up. The bucks are nocturnal. No, that buck went out the other way. He knew you were there. He smelled you, heard you, or seen you. Because we're like bulls in a china shop going through the woods. Everybody knows that. And I have taught myself over the last probably 10, 15 years. My man, that's why I told you earlier, I go in at 12 o'clock. It might take me to approach a bedding area. It might take me an hour and a half to go 50 yards. Yes, heel to toe, dude. Heel to toe, heel to toe. I'm serious. I learned that from a guy years and years ago. He hunts very similar to me. Very, very good hunter, man. Young guy too. He's only like 30, 34. He does the same thing, and man, he gets it helps a lot because they listen. I always tell people like it's like us laying in our beds and somebody breaking in downstairs, if that makes sense. What's that noise? What's that noise? That ain't right. I know that wasn't the dryer coming on, or I know that wasn't the heater coming on. Well, Buck laying there, and he's 5, 6 years old. Dude's smart. On public land, I'm telling you right now, that buck he's pressured, he's smart, he knows smells, he knows sounds, he knows everything. He knows when that doe over there 150 yards from is farting. And you get these guys and they're doing a lot of good things. I see a lot of these videos on TikTok and this and that, and like I'm like, oh my God, I want to call this guy and say, I know what you're doing wrong. Just take your time. What is your rush getting to the tree? Oh my God, I get up the tree. There's no rush. And it helps so much. Just does. It helps me so much. Now, am I right 100% of the times? Hell no. I'm right probably maybe 50, 60% of the time. I screw up too. I drop stuff out of the tree. I'm a big dude. You can't see me in a tree. There's something wrong with you. Entryways are huge. They're huge to me, in my opinion. And that's where I think certain, like we talked about this commenting back and forth, I think on one of your posts, on your podcast with a guest that he was saying like, 99% was luck and the other is not, or is all luck. And that's where I disagree with that. I really do. I think if you do the research and do everything what I'm saying is right, I think you're going to surprise yourself on how good a woodsman that you are. I'm not saying I am, but I'm just saying like if you do certain things and learn how these deer are reacting to pressure on public property, where they like to be at certain times of the year during certain conditions, especially pressured conditions. There's if think about it, let's go back to your house again. If you got 5 guys downstairs that break in, you see it on your monitor or whatever you're watching, here they come. You probably have one spot you want to hide. You're probably going to be safe. Think about it. They probably do too, because, another thing is I really have figured out like a lot of these older bucks, they have personalities like a dog. They're either very brave or they're very, very skittish. And you know who dies first? The very brave ones. The ones that go out during the rut first. And you can really, really compare them to a dog's personality. I do. And Andre D'Acquisto told me that. And I said, man, that's a great point. And years ago, he told me that. And I paid attention to that. And it's a really good point. Some guys rely on luck. I don't. I try not to. I mean, listen, there is luck involved, but there's a lot of work involved too, and using your head. I think there's a lot.
I think one of the previous episodes we talked about it. There's certain bucks where if they see you walking in, they'll leave the section, move 3 miles away. There's bucks with the personality where they're going to be back the next day.
Yeah. And another thing, like you were just saying, like you got to remember, like I usually take 1 or 2 guys out a year. Like I get a lot of DMs or PMs and say, hey, Rob, will you look at this map and what do you think I should do? And I'll say, well, where do you live? And a lot of times I go and meet with them and I'll say, well, I'm going to tell you right now, he's seeing your legs go through the woods, because if you think about a deer and their sight, their view, they're not up here 5, 6 foot in the air. They're low. So if you go into a woods, most guys want to hunt these clear spots, these open oaks, you know what I mean, or a holly spot that has falling oaks and all that, but don't know how to get in there. And they go in there. Here we go with the entryway again. If you're going in there and you're standing tall, you're sinking that stick, right? Does that make sense?
Yep.
And if you get down on your knee and look, it's a different world. I could see 150 yards down the woods. That's where the deer are. That's what they're seeing. So me, I try to see another thing is I try to see what the deer are looking at. Like I'll get in an actual bed. Dan Infeld taught me this about 8, 9 years ago. Get into a bed and I'll sit there, dude. I'm telling you right now, I'll sit there for 15 minutes to just look. What am I looking at? What am I looking at? What am I looking at? On a point, on a marsh or something like that. And I'll look. I just look. It's super thick, chest high. I stand up and I said, man, I can't see a goddamn thing like this in front of my hands. I get down to a deer's level. I can see 150 yards. Guys don't think that. They don't. They really don't. So these big bucks are not like, if you take a clear cut, they're so pressured, and I'm sure they're pressured out in the Midwest too, but they want to keep tabs on us. They really do. I have found beds like you'll see on the hunting public and on the Beast and all that. They are laying next to parking lots, keeping tabs on humans. They are. They're doing it here. They're doing it everywhere. And the most of the bucks that I go after and I learn, I'll find certain areas they want to be at certain times of the fall, and I'll find their beds. And I'm telling you right now, I'll go into a little point of pine thicket or a briar patch, and you imagine me going through a briar patch, I'll find 4 or 5 beds, and guys will go in there postseason and say, oh, that's got to be 4 or 5 does. No, that is a buck shifting for the wind and watching a certain way. That's what he's doing. They like that breakup, that point, the finger, the bowl, or whatever. And guys don't think of that. And if they would and consider that, and they're laying there, like I said, maybe right, not right. To me, too, I want to say these older bucks are not laying right on that edge of that transition. They're coming in 10, 15 yards so they can still be covered, but they can still see out in that kind of to that edge. And I'll tell you, man, I find a ton of beds like that, a ton, where guys will find does and they're like, what the hell is these beds? It don't make no sense. And then there's a circle where does aren't like them. They lay in a circle and they're all looking at the same way. So you'll say, this can't be a buck bed. There's no wind. So they're not worried about the wind. They're relying on everybody's eyes. And I know that's regurgitated information from the last 10, 15 years of the hunting public and Dan Info, but it's true. It's true. That's how they do it. That from my experience, that's exactly how they bed.
You would think a buck would want to go right in the middle of the thickest stuff in the middle of the woods, but that isn't the case.
I don't think it's the case. Maybe in some places, but I don't think that. And a buck will always have an exit trail. I think a buck does not want to trap himself like that because, think about it. Are you going to corner yourself? I think they set up in high pressure. Now you go online and no offense to these guys, you watch Don Higgins or Jeff Sturgis or something like that, and there's a buck walking out in the middle of the field at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Well, that's a different world. That's a different hunting situation where me, you, and the most of us blue collar public hunters, we're dealing with these bucks that are, you go in an area where I hunt, there isn't many places where you're not going to find hunter sign where you can get away from hunters because it's so easily accessible. Like even in Delaware, there's great hunting tracks over in Redden State Forest. Prime Hook is 2 minutes away from my house. Beautiful, but there's so much pressure from all the sides. You got to consider and I don't want to jump all over the place. I know I am a little bit. I might had the perfect setup one night, but you don't know if a ding dong came out of there this morning and kicked that deer out of there. He came in from the other side, or a guy came in from a canoe, or a guy, because everybody's doing what everybody's doing on YouTube and stuff. So it's that much more difficult now. I love it though. I love it. It's so fun. It's so fun to fail. It really is. It really is. If you're not failing, you're not learning.
Exactly. 100%.
You're not learning. And I don't want to ever be called a deer pro, master, expert, because once you're labeled that, you're not learning anymore. I'm not expert at anything. Nothing. I don't want to be. So especially the deer woods, I want to learn every time I go in there. And even if I sit in a spot in an area and I don't see a buck, I usually know what happened. I must have screwed up. I must have not taken care of a thermal where I didn't consider that thermal hitting that and then taking that wind totally opposite and to him, something in that matter. Guys don't think of that either.
Can you describe the landscape where you hunt? For example, where I hunt, it's flat, square mile sections. It's
Super
easy.
flat and super, super chunked up pieces with roads everywhere. That's why I'm saying, like earlier, that access is super easy. You can get in from most spots I hunt from all four sides, unless up in Prime Hook. It's right along the bay, the Delaware Bay. Most of that, it's all marsh. So everybody comes in from the west side. Everybody's coming in from the west side and they're pushing the deer way out in the marsh, way out in the marsh. To be honest with you, in my opinion of hunting any kind of area, I think the marsh is the easiest to find deer sign and to figure out what they're doing there, when they're doing it, and what conditions they're doing it in. But it's very difficult to get near the deer because there's no trees. You're hunting in the middle of Phragmite. You're sitting in Phragmite, and that's what happens. And get pushed out there so far. It's very difficult because the access is just from one way. And then you get over to like Redden State Forest or Assawoman down south, where it's all forest and big thicket pieces. And somebody will probably correct me, but I think one of our biggest state pieces in Redden State Forest is, and that would be over in Georgetown, Delaware. It's about 10 minutes from me. I think it's only 1,800 acres. It's small. That's really small, really small. So that's one of our tracks. And we have multiple tracks all over the place, but there's roads all over, main roads, cars coming, and there's trucks pulled over, hunters coming from all different directions. So it's tough, man. It's a lot of pressure on these deer. And I'm sure you guys got the same thing out there.
Yeah, you mentioned earlier trying to get more hunters. What do you think? I have my opinion, but what do you think what's your opinion on the decline in hunters?
I think everybody wants it real right now. They don't want to, I'm not saying everybody, but I think they want to open their phone, open Onyx or Spartan Forge and say, that buck's going to be right there because the hunting public told me it was there. And they go there and kill it that night. And they don't want to do research. That's just my opinion. I mean, not everybody. I mean, I know there's guys crazy like me. These younger generations they're tough, man. No offense to nobody, but they're tough.
We don't mention those apps on this podcast.
Sorry. Yeah, you're right. I'm sorry. Yeah, your app's great. I checked it. I checked it out. It's great, man. I'm going to be using it.
Once I get somebody to come on and do some funding, I think we'll be right up there with them. I got some pretty good ideas, but I kind of agree with you a little bit, but I think the way I agree with you is people aren't willing to put in the effort. And I think a lot of the effort these younger kids have to put in is finding access. I was a little bit different. Less than 1% of the ground's public here hunting. These big out-of-staters or big celebrities are coming in and buying 5,000 acres that might have been owned by 10 different people. Well, you might have just pulled off 9 people that had permission. It's just getting really tough to get permission.
It makes sense. And I think that it's here too. It really is. There's, I believe, snow goose hunting's huge here. So we have some TV personalities that come here and snow goose hunt out in Prime Hook and Fowler's Beach and all that stuff. And I do believe there's some big TV people I call entertainment hunters up the road a little bit up by the Dover Air Force Base that rent these giant pieces of property. And they come in there and they offer $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 to rent properties for 5 months. It's ridiculous. And what's a farmer going to say? No, I got to let people come on here. He's a fool if he says no. It's a no-brainer to the farmer, and I think a little bit has to do with the farmers are scared, man. They don't want to get sued. You get these people. You see some of these videos of these guys online, what they're doing. They're climbing trees and putting hammers, hammer nails, and we've all done it, but that really scares people. Some of the things that people are trying and doing and all that. I really do blame some of the companies out there. I'll probably get some big backlash for that, but of the promising of buy this and you can kill this. There's a lot of that with some companies out there, and it's just not true. It's not true. You have to know what you're hunting. You have to learn your prey. I really think that's the most important thing. Look at the saddles. I mean, I love saddle. I've been in the saddle since, I don't know, how 2005, 6, somewhere in there. That's a long time now. The last 4 or 5 years, it's the best thing since sliced bread. I've been in a saddle for 20 years. Where'd this come from? And it is great. It's great. I love it. I love that people are getting into saddle. But I think there's a certain company out there, or a couple companies out there, that say, hey, buy this saddle and you will be able to go mobile and kill big bucks every year. It's just not true. I know guys that sit in ladder stands and kill big bucks every year, but they know that freaking buck's going to cook. They know them deer are going to be in that specific area every year at that week, or he's going to be chasing does that week, or whatever. It's research. It's not equipment, I've killed deer on the ground in a fold out chair, over the years. It's just, that drives me nuts.
There's a lot of Mennonite by us, and they don't wear camo.
No, you're right. We have a lot of them up here too. The Amish drive everything, shoot everything that moves. God bless them, but that is a big problem. Now, South Jersey, New Jersey has great woods. It really does. It could have, in my honest opinion, I really do think that New Jersey could be probably one of the best buck killing states there could be, but it's ranked 49th for open young registered bucks. Last I checked, it was 49th. There's 50 states in the United States. It's 49. But you're allowed to kill $7. Every person that has a license can kill $7. If you buy all the permits, you can kill $7 a year. It just went from 6 to 7, I believe. But you have bow season. You have 3 bow seasons. You have fall bow, permit bow, and winter bow. That's $3. You have muzzle loader. That's another $1. That's $4. You have shotgun. That's $2. Shotgun week, 6-day firearm. That's $2. That's $6. And now you can buy, I think it's on doe days, you can buy a buck tag for that. I could be wrong, but I believe so. $7. If you buy all them tags, it's very expensive, but there's guys that do it because they love to hunt. If you want to hunt, you're going to pay the money. New Jersey, it's ridiculous. And then on top of that, right, you have, listen, I'm not against deer drives at all. I'm not against them. Don't get me wrong, but you have deer clubs in extreme South Jersey that have probably 75 to 100 members, right? Now you got 25 standers and 75 guys driving pieces of woods over there. That's just common sense. The deer can't grow. They can't grow. They have the food in certain areas, but they just won't let them grow. You have 3 points on one side rule over in New Jersey, antler point restriction, which I'm not against antler point restriction, but I think a 3 point on one side is just stupid because you can kill a 3-pointer, or whatever, or a little dinky 3, I call them dinks, but they're massacring deer, piling deer up in the back of the trucks during deer week. And it that makes no sense to me. It makes no sense. And it really turns off people from hunting New Jersey. It really does, especially South Jersey. It really turns them off. It's very frustrating. I have friends that won't even go out on 6-day firearm because that's when bucks turn nocturnal. They have no choice because if they get up, they're going to get shot, in extreme cases like that.
Yeah, that blows my mind that somebody could kill $7. I thought Iowa.
Yeah, I believe it's up to $7 now.
In Iowa, it's 3. You have to be a landowner to get the third. I think that's too many. Indiana, and I could be wrong, I've mentioned this on a couple podcasts, I believe they used to be a $2 state, went to $1, and their deer size just went through the roof.
I'm sure. And listen, man, there's big deer in Delaware. I see them every year. This is a great hidden gem for big bucks. They're here, but you're allowed to kill 2 here. And what helps them, of course, they have a lot of food right here. I mean, it's all farms, but also they have a 15-inch spread rule. Nothing under 15 inches you can shoot. It's a little interesting, but I guess that's to your ears. I would think that would be the average, out to their ears, maybe. And I'm fine with that. That's fine. But to me, to be able to kill $7 in a 3-point on one side state, that's just idiotic to me, and it's just stupid.
The 15-inch one doesn't really make sense to me because there's been world record deer shot that never.
I know, and that will get into that. They'll be less than 14 inches wide, but they'll have massive bass on them. It's crazy. I agree. You're right. I don't know why they have that implemented, but I think that they do worry about their quality of bucks. Because they do want people to come hunt here. Because I tell you, half of Pennsylvania's here the first week of September. Every truck you ride down the road, every truck on the side of the road is Pennsylvania, and they're all great hunters. If I'm telling you, if you can kill a deer in Pennsylvania on public land, then you can kill deer anywhere. Anywhere. You guys are good hunters.
New Jersey, you suppose it's money that they're after? Like, do you know?
I can't confirm this, but I think the car insurance companies have something to do with it. You know what I mean? I'm sure they have a little. New Jersey's known for their politics and nepotism and all that kind of stuff, so corruption. But I can't prove that, but I'm sure. You know, I don't know.
Makes
I
sense.
don't know. Yeah,
I'm sure I've heard that before, but haven't really thought about it. I
yeah,
mean, that could be part of it in Iowa too.
yeah. I think it's probably anywhere you have a very high car count or whatever you would want to call it, because we have a lot of people here. You know what I mean? And a lot of cars, lots of cars. You can Route 1 out here, man, you can be 3 hours in the middle of the summer going 4 miles. It gets to be a mess.
Back to your saddle hunting, how long does it take you to get up in a tree? You find your tree to the time you're up in your saddle.
I stand there and I look around and I want to get in. Where do I want to sit? And then I'm really on where I want my sticks, where I want my platform. Now I use a platform for short sits. Now if I'm doing a rut, I don't sit all day. I can't. I go bonkers. If I do like a really long sit, like if I do go in the morning at gray light set up, I'll bring my .5. I have a .5, Lone Wolf Custom Gear .5. Usually I'm in there on my, I don't know, I'm really slow, 15 minutes maybe. Depends on how many sticks I got to go. I mean, if I'm using 1 or 2 sticks, I'm up pretty quick because I use a double eighter on the bottom. And then I'll tell you, most of my hunts, I'm using 2 sticks because I use a double eighter on the bottom and a single eighter on the top on the second stick. So there isn't really much sense to go any higher. If your shot's there, depending on where my shots are and where I think the deer are going to come from, that's where I'll be. And, there's later on in the year, of course, when the foliage falls and all that, there's not much cover. I don't want to be that high because I stick out like a sore thumb really high. So I do a lot of one stick hunting that time of year because I'm still covered in that, because there's a lot of hollies and pines around where I hunt. My buddy will go 5, 6 high. And I'm like, dude, you're sticking out like a sore thumb up there. And he says, yeah, I know. I got busted today. I'm like, wonder why. He's tall. It depends on what time of year. 15, 20 minutes at the latest. I'm in the tree set up, ready to shoot something. And that's camera arm. This year I'm going to do a lot of filming.
The problem I have is where I hunt, there's a lot of big oak trees. So when I'm trying to do a temporary stand or even when I set up my permanent stands, you got to whip the ratchet strap around.
I got you. Yeah, makes sense. Yep. Been there, done that. I usually don't hunt really big trees. I can't get into a really little tree either. I'll be leaning over if I'm in it. But basketball around and up, probably I hunt. I mean, I've been in some big trees too. But I try to take the strap and throw the buckle around. What I'll do a lot is I'll hand a stand around or the platform around or whatever is easier, you know what I mean, depending on the situation. So yeah, 15, 20 minutes. Usually I'm really slow and quiet when I'm like, I have two bungee cords on both sides of my waist where my sticks hang, but I also make sure the placement of them, they don't bang together if I'm climbing. Never. I never have that. So I've had it done, but I fixed that problem years and years ago. And then it's just super easy. I'm going up and I'm staying up and I'm constantly looking and I'm going up and I'm not like, and if I start sweating, I'm going too fast. If you're sweating, you're going too fast, man. Why are you rushing? And as I'm going up, I'm looking, I'm listening, I'm stopping for a minute. I am looking and listening and seeing what's going on. And, you never know, man, because you ever climb a tree and here comes a buck. I mean, not that I'm going to grab my bow and shoot him, but it takes one time for a target buck. I don't really have target. I do, but I don't call them that. But there takes one time for a buck that you're after to see you, smell you, and know you're there. You're done, man. Pack up and go. He's not going to come through there for I don't know how long. In any kind of real life situation, it's going to be very tough outside of the runs.
Yes and no. That day, 100% yes. But I think in my opinion, it's a little bit overblown that
Mhm.
if you spook a big buck once, he'll never come back. I think that's there's some bucks that'll never come back, but
Well, I think that falls into personality. I think that I, as a hunter, like I was describing earlier, I always take a deer and I compare them to a dog's personality, and I always go to that skittish, scared to death buck because that's the one I want to get after because that's the one you're going to select. That's going to be the most difficult one to kill, and if I compare them to, and I'm sitting there and he walks out at me, looks at me, and he says, "Yeah, you're busty up there. I know you're there now." I guarantee tomorrow or the next day, he gonna walk by there and go, "Is he there? No, he ain't there," and then keep walking.
100% agree with that. But I think the mindset of most people is you spook a buck on your property, he's instantly going to move 5 miles away.
No, I don't believe that. I think you're right. I think, listen, here's another thing, like preset stands. I scout like crazy postseason, and I'm telling you right now, I find so many climber marks where there's guys coming in with climbers, and they have I mean, they're hunting there 4 or 5 times a month. And I call them skirt trails, where just like a bait pile, these deer are skirting around that area. They're not leaving the area. They're just going around you far enough where you don't know they're going around you every night. So, or if they're in that area, does that make sense? Like a skirt trail. Yeah, they know where them stands are. And that's what I'm saying. Like that deer might not come out the next night, but I bet he's going out that way and coming that way or whatever. And then if he does come out, he's probably going to check that tree if he's smart. If he's not, he's going to die quick.
What do you think smarter, a 5-year-old doe or a 5-year-old buck?
I think a 5-year-old doe smarter. She's got to be smart for the whole family. She's got it. She's got to take
100%.
care of the babies, dude. Yep. Yes, definitely. I hate hunting does.
They're always on alert for 2 or 3 people, not one.
If you ever hunted over bait piles years ago, I'm telling you right now, she's the last one that comes and dips her head in that corn pile. She's walking around that corn pile looking up and smelling and stomping her foot, and she knows somebody's there, or she's trying to get somebody to move that she thinks there, while the youngins are in there eating. She's the last one to go in that bait pile. She'll stay out there and check the wind a million times, and they're smartest thing in the woods, honestly, to me.
If a buck knows something or senses something isn't right, they're gone. A doe
Yeah.
won't leave until she figures out what it is.
Yeah, I agree. I do. She's gonna stomp, smell, whatever, get pissed off, and they get mad too. It's funny.
Even if they see you or you move a little bit, they see you, you could stand still for 5 minutes and she'll be trying to figure it out. And you think you're in the clear when she starts to walk away.
Yeah.
She'll turn around and walk right back at you to try busting you again.
She knows it's not right, but she can't confirm it yet, and she's trying to confirm because you're not beating a nose. You're just not. If she smells you or whatever smell, buck smells you, you are beat. They know you're there somewhere. So if she can't smell you, it's driving her nuts. She knows you're there, but she can't confirm that you're actually there through her nose. So she's trying to look, walk away and trying to catch you, walk away trying to catch you. And you're right. I agree 100%. They're slick, man. They're slick. Slick animals, man. They are I don't know. Listen, I don't know a more adaptive and more survival instinct animal than a white-tailed deer. I mean, to me, from what my experience hunting in the woods, man, they are tough. You can plow a whole 200 acres of woods down till it's flat, and they just move into people's backyards and bed and eat. They just are so adaptable to whatever you throw at them. It's crazy.
I got a buddy that has a bunch of timber around that's public, and there's a bunch of river bottom timber, and there's a 200-acre section right across the road, maybe one tree in the whole section, but they know nobody can hunt that. So instead of laying in the timber in the middle of the winter, they live in the wide open section.
Yep, yep. And they're not smelling nobody. Nobody's going in there or whatever. It's crazy, man. They're just so smart and they're so adaptive to whatever that's thrown at them. And, oh my God, I've cut deer open over the years and like, 3, 4 broadheads. It's, oh my God, I couldn't imagine running around with a broadhead in your next to your spine. I mean, it's just, or your hip. It's unreal.
Or a single lung shot, they're not going to die.
I mean, oh my Lord, it's crazy.
Their nose, you can't beat their nose. Their eyes are pretty damn good. I think their hearing is a little bit overrated.
I heard from John Eberhart years and years, I mean, probably back in the 90s, that I think it was him that they can confirm it with their nose, but they can't confirm it with their eyes and ears. But you can't beat, but yet he's a big scent lock guy. So they're going to confirm with their nose everything. And I don't think that you'll ever beat, you might give yourself a little bit of odds or chance of cover up of your nose, but I don't think you can beat their nose. I don't think you can beat 100% a deer's nose or bears.
I don't think scent clothing is really that necessary.
I don't either. I hunt the wind. I use milkweed or cattails, whatever I can find. I have a box of milkweed like this. So I'm a total wind hunter, and I keep that wind in my face, crossed or something, even my entryways. If I have to go way out and walk up, and I try to not walk on edges, transitions. I try to stay way out, and getting back to the entryways, it's so important, man. It's so important with the wind in your face and then not seeing you and smelling you.
If a deer trail's walking right towards me, I would rather have the wind be almost kind of dangerous, where if they're coming at this angle, if the wind were to shift 20 degrees, it'd blow them right in the face.
I think I know what you're saying, and I hunt like that a lot, dude. I hunt like that a lot, where I'm bringing, and it's going to be hard to explain this a little bit, but usually a buck likes to bed in with the wind coming over their back somehow, and they'll have an exit trail behind them because they don't like to be cornered, and some kind of crosswind or wind over their back, directly over their back, crosswind or whatever. But
they probably want to walk a trail that way in a sense too, because they can see in front of them.
I agree with that. I do. I think that they want to. I really think that a buck, especially a mature buck, he's a selfish, narcissistic bastard. That's what they are, and they want to smell everything. They want to see and smell everything, but they can't. They can't always do that, and that's why they die. Like I was saying, like a lot of times I'll say, okay, that deer is bedding here and the wind's doing this. He's probably facing this way or doing whatever he's got to do. I'm trying to keep that in, but it's just missing him. Does that make sense? Like you're saying, as my entryway, just missing that deer. And I'm probably getting busted a lot doing that because thermals, as the sun drops, thermals, the winds change, wind bounces off of, and as the thermals change, they'll bounce off transitions and throw it. And listen, man, them bucks know where that wind puddles up. They know that. They know where it swirls. They know where it puddles. I call it puddling, where it goes up. It's just like water in a piece of wood. It would all gather into the low spot. That's how I kind of look at it. But I agree.
So all the years you've been hunting, are there any hunts that just stick out in your memory that either they got you hooked or just you'll never forget?
I have 4 deer mounted. I'm cheap. And my first deer I ever killed. Oh no, excuse me. Yeah, yes, my first bow kill I killed. I was with my buddy, and this was one of my memorable hunts. I killed him with a muzzleloader. It was a big 4-pointer. It was early in my hunting career, I guess you would say. And I used to hunt with a buddy up in Millville, New Jersey, and just north of Cape May, just maybe half hour north of Cape May. Cape May is the very southern part of New Jersey, if anybody's wondering. You can't get no more south than Cape May. But this big 6-pointer came out, and I couldn't get a shot at him. And I'm like, damn it, I'm gonna kill a deer. So, and here comes these does, and here comes this 4-pointer. Should I wait? Should I not? And we used to have walkie-talkies. He's like, dude, shoot it. What's wrong? Just shoot it. So I shot it, right? And it ran off about, I don't know, 50 yards. And I'm sitting there, and I was my one of my first bucks that it might have been my second or third buck I killed. And I'm sitting there, and I'm like, what the hell is going on? I'm looking. Here the 6-pointer came out, and he's starting to beat the one I shot. I couldn't believe it.
Really?
Yeah, it was crazy, man. And that went on for like 15, 20 minutes. And my buddy came out. He says, oh, I'm going to walk to you. I said, because I told him, I said, yo, walk to me. I got a buck in here. I don't have another tag. I got does in here. So they're coming by. So he walked to me, or I would walk to him and spook the deer out of there. You know what I mean? So that's how we work it. Another time is, and we're going back to another good memorable hunt, was my brother, like I said in the beginning, used to own a sporting clay range. Well, he had about maybe 150, 180 acre piece where have you ever been sporting clay shooting where you go through the woods? Yeah.
Not like that, no.
It's you gotta try it, man. It's fun. You go through the woods and have these stations where they'll roll clays down a log, and it's like shooting a rabbit or a squirrel.
We always do it where we throw them and shoot them out of the air.
You gotta go. You gotta find a sporting clay range. Oh, that's fun, man. Everything's different. They're throwing it through the woods. They're throwing it at you, and stuff rolling down logs. It's very, very fun. But where I hunted that we hunted. I'm sitting there one night, and that's when really one of my first few years of hunting, and we were heavy baiters. And there was a pig farm and an emu farm about a mile through the woods, right? You probably know where I'm going. So I'm sitting there, and I'm like, you're twiddling your thumbs. This is back in the '90s, and here I'm like, what the hell is that? I'm looking through the woods. What is that? Here comes two emus to my big pile. That was pretty funny. Me and my brother used walkie talkies. I said, "Yo, you ain't gonna believe this one, dude." And he says, "What? What?" And I said, "I have two emus on my bait pile." And he said, "Shoot them." I said, "No, I'm not shooting that damn thing. Hell no."
They'll probably scare all the deer away. I think they're pretty good guard animals.
Are they really? Yeah, I don't know much about. I know they got big eggs, and friggin' eggs are huge.
I got down a rabbit hole a couple days ago. I saw an emu chasing something off the farm. A coyote was crawling under the fence, and the emu just walked up to us like right on the head.
Killed them. Probably killed
So
them,
then I
right?
got to looking, and they're used as guard animals on
Yeah.
farms.
Okay.
They'll chase coyotes off and stuff like that. They're really protective.
Wow. I heard donkeys. They use donkeys like that too. The emus, they're protectors. And I'm like, I remember saying a couple years ago to my daughter, why do they have emus? They eggs? No, they're protectors. But it's funny you say that. That's why. You're right.
So are guineas. You wouldn't think guineas would be protectors. They're more of the crybaby.
A guinea hen, you mean? Like the gray birds, you mean?
Not because they're gonna fight something, because if you've ever walked onto a farm with one, they don't shut up because
My God.
they're trying to alert. If something looks out of place, they'll just screech. And
Okay. I know I know people get them because they eat a ton of ticks. Say they eat like their body weight in ticks within a couple of days or something like that. So, and that's a lot. So I have heard that with guinea hens.
yeah, my dad had some laying hens that would just run around the farm, and he always had guineas paired with them.
Yeah, yeah. Interesting. Very interesting.
So you do a lot of archery hunting? That's what you do?
That's yeah, pretty much. I mean, I'll take the gun out every once. I like black powder. I have taken that out the last few years. I haven't shot it. I think it's getting pretty dusty, so I do want to go out this year because we have a really early muzzleloader season. It's like the beginning of October, second week of October, something like that. And I do want to go out and pop something because I shoot does in different areas that I hunt. I don't shoot does in areas that I go after bucks. Does that make sense?
Of course.
Yeah. So I if I go want to pop a doe, I'll take the gun if it's in, but I won't go after a buck without my bow. And I really I really want to. I don't know if it's too late, but I really want to kill one with my trad. I have a 35-pound trad bow and a 60-pound trad bow, but I have a really bad shoulder, so
What's a trad bull?
recurve. So, but I have it all set up.
What do you use, a compound bow?
Okay, I use a compound, yeah, but I do want to kill one with a recurve. I would like to kill a deer with a recurve one day. So
There's a gal I follow on social media from Vermont. That's all she hunts with, and she kills a lot of nice deer. I'm trying to get her on a podcast.
yeah, that's a killer there, man. You getting them that close with a trad bow, man. They're doing something right.
What kind of compound bow do you use?
I have an expedition. I love it. Yep, I've had it for 2 or 3 years now. I shoot it like hell, man. I'm not a big shooter. I'm not at like a. I don't do the shows and all that. I just like to hunt. I do shoot a lot before the season and during the season. I try to shoot a lot to keep to keep it up. And I only shoot 52 pounds or 54 or something like that. So it's not a whole lot of poundage because I, I I get them so close. I don't take honestly, if I'm taking a 25-yard shot on a deer, me myself, I don't like a far shot, 30, 35 yards. And I'm probably not where I want to be. And that if I could see that far, because Most of my spots only give me 20, 25 yards at the most shot.
There's so many different bow brands that they might have been around 10 years ago, but I never recognized them. Expedition, was it Darton,
Darton.
Prime?
Yep. Yep. Yeah. Prime. There's so many of them now. I was always a Hoyt guy. I had Hoyts for years. A new Hoyt is $2,000. I'm like, I'm not spending $2,000 on a bow. And then you buy a dozen arrows. I mean, some of these sites are like 300, 400 dollars, man. To hunt, I can see if you're using a bow and you're going out to the archery challenge or you're shooting at, with your buddies at some archery shop on some league night or something like. But I don't do that. So I'm not really into that, and I wouldn't even do it then. I'd go take that and shoot. But
Yeah, I bought I shoot Matthew, so
yeah,
probably nicer than what I need, but I've always had one.
they're nice.
That's all I've ever used. In 2007, I bought one brand new right as I graduated, and I shot that finally upgraded it 3 years ago. So I used the same bow for 15 years.
I did the same thing before this one. You're right. I had a what the hell was it? It was the Buckmaster bow. What was that? Who made that? I am not my buddy builds all my bows. Like he built the last two bows for me. So, and this expedition he built. I'm not a arrow builder or a bow builder. Like every once in a while on TikTok, I go on there. I really like that kid Nimrod Archery. He's a nice kid. He seems like a real nice kid. So I go on his live or something and say, "Hey guys, what's up?" But I'm not into it like them guys. Like they're building bows and building arrows and but that's their business. But I'm into hunting. So if I was into, like I said, if I was into it more than that, I probably would have it more. Because there probably is a difference. I would think that, of course, you get what you buy. I would think. Do you agree? I don't know.
I talk about certain things on or on different episodes, but I mentioned it
Yeah.
before. Look at, let's say, this carbon Hoyt that's $2,000. Think of the kind of gun that you can buy for $2,000.
Mm-hmm.
You would think the old traditional bow, how much technology can be in a bow, but they cost a lot more than a gun.
They do. It's crazy. I use a 20 gauge Mossberg. That's what I use for gun hunting. And I mean, get off subject of the bows, but my gun, my black powder is a CVA Wolf. I love that thing. It's like a kid's gun, man. It's sweet for saddle hunting because it's small. I mean, it's really sweet. So, but I said earlier, I'm cheap.
I wish I was more cheap.
Yeah, I think I got about $1,000 in that bow, in that expedition. I love it. It's great. It's a great bow. I always had problems with peep sights, though. I don't know why. I've always had problems trying to find a peep sight. My buddy says, "What the hell's wrong with you? Why can't you find it? I put it in the right spot." And then he'll get it right, and then I'll shoot it 4 or 5 times, and then it's my anchor point. I got every year I'm fighting an anchor point in the beginning of the season, like, where do I want it this year? Where do I want it this year? And that's kind of stuff that I have to work on. I do have to work on that. I also want to do a mentor program where guys like us that have been hunting for years and years can take a guy that's new to hunting and say, "Hey, we can do a podcast or a Zoom call and say, hey, I need help with this, this, and this. I got Andre D'Acquisto as a mentor this year. Hey, Andre, I want to kill this buck. How do I do it? Blah, blah, blah." I think that would be a really cool thing to do. And another thing is, like you said, I would get all of us together on somehow or another and say, okay, it's the rut. It's October 15th because we're all different with the rut. I get rut activity here in mid-October. These guys are rubbing and scraping like crazy. They're starting to sniff and chase. We can get on a couple guys on a couple times a week, and okay, I got this on Delaware. We got this weather front's coming through. The deer are sniffing. They're chasing. They're doing this and doing that. And like you out there and I got this week. This is going on, and like almost like I think that's what you're saying, a rut forecast or a rutmation hub for the whole freaking country from people from all over the place. I think that would be awesome, dude.
Well,
Awesome.
even if the group of that's kind of, the Hunter's Legacy group that
Yeah.
even if people post there once a week, okay, this is what's going on in
Yeah.
Georgia, and somebody comes on and we can read through them. And
Mm-hmm.
apparently, I didn't know this, but the cop from Georgia, their ruts in December.
It is. It's a little. Well, it's so warm down there. I think and I think that their leaves change later. Their leaves drop later, and I think that's so key with that rut coming in. And I know. Excuse me. I'm sure that the whatever the hell it's called. I can't remember with the light and all that. And I honestly don't believe the moon stuff. I've killed bucks in the full moon and in the new moon and everywhere in between, the blood moon. But I do think that the light dwindling every day has something to do with it. And I really do think for some reason their environment changed that swiftly within 2 weeks of fully thick as crazy as hell until everything's falling. I think whatever it is, that changes them bucks to know it's coming, it's coming, it's coming, it's coming, it's coming. Like us with hunting season, it's coming, it's coming.
Used to think temperature was a big thing. I don't think temperature matters for peak rut.
I've killed bucks in 85 degrees in the rut. Yeah.
Just the past 5 years, you get these warm spells during the rut, and the deer are moving just as much. And last year, the juries were hyping up, I believe it was third or fourth week of October. This is going to be the best hunting you've had in the rut in a long time. It's going to go from 55 down to high of 30 for 7 days. The barometric pressure is going to be above 3.5. It's October 25th. You need to be in the stand. I took days off work. It sucked. I
agree.
A couple weeks later, October or November 6th, it was 60 degree, low pressure, deer activity was through the roof.
Bucks are all over the place. I just think depending on, I think it depends on that leaf fall. You call me crazy, but I really think something with that foliage change, vegetation change, die off of the trees, whatever you want to call it, has something to do with it. I really do. Because like you said, listen, man, I don't wait for cold fronts. They might get them up and moving, but like, I'm not going to base going hunting on a, I'm not going to say, I'm not going tonight. There's no cold front. It's 85 degrees. Dude, listen, these deer get up and move every single day. Every day. They just go to different places and try to find different food sources, and they have different conditions changing their routes. That's what the problem is. They're moving every day. Every day they're moving.
Deer daytime as they are at night.
I agree. I agree 100%. That's why these guys swear by the noontime. Well, think about it. They have something. There's not a lot of humans, and most of us hunters are used to getting up in the morning, going out and hunting until 8:30, 9, 10 o'clock, coming out, getting lunch, and then going back in 2, 3 o'clock. There is something to that.
So I have an office job.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Doesn't sound like you do, but imagine if you're sitting at your office chair all day, or a dog in a kennel. They can't just lay down all day. They need to get up and do something.
You're exactly right, and that's funny you say that, because you just put what I wanted to say in my head. Like, these guys, they think that these deer are going nocturnal. That's a big thing too. No, they're not. They're going out a different way. Listen, deer don't lay in a bed for 16, 18 hours a day or 12 hours a day. They're going to get up, but these big bucks, they're getting up and moving 20 yards in an hour, and they're chewing, they're smelling, they're looking, they're just, that's how they do it. If they know a certain hunters in a certain area, they're not going to go that way. So then that's how these guys think they're getting nocturnal. They're not. They're just going another way. They're moving all day long. In my area, dude, the wind is a lot. Wind is life to them. It really is. It's flat. It has to be. So if a buck's laying somewhere and he's got a wind advantage, and we get a midday shift, you think he's going to sit there and not feel comfortable in a bed? There's no way. It's like going to downtown Dover and sleeping outside in a box compared to being in my house. So you're not going to feel safe. So does that make sense?
Back to this rut conversation. I think people think that because there's a cold front ahead of the rut, that the rut's just magically going to shift a week forward. I guarantee a peak rut is within 3 or 4 days every single year. If peak rut is historically on November 12th, for example, it's not going to vary from that more than a couple days. It's going to be within a 3-4 day window every year. Weather,
I agree.
Doesn't matter.
Only because I love the first week in November here. I see, if I'm in the stand, I'm going in, I'm getting out, and I'm going in at gray light. pretty good idea in the morning where I want to be. I don't know what tree I want to be in, but I have a pretty good idea. I'm getting up, I'm getting set up, and I'm telling you right now, by 9, 10 o'clock, I'm probably seeing 4, 5, 6 bucks go by me. They're moving all day. And that first week in November, like you said, that's probably that 4 or 5 days or whatever, like you were saying, that's that pocket of them, that buck movement looking for dudes. It's just, I agree.
I've never understood the whole groups with doe, chases are off. What's the cycle? Are they spending 2 days with a doe? When they're done with the doe and they go find another doe, are they doing that in the middle of the day? Because during peak breeding season, it usually seems that they're on their feet by themselves in the middle of the day.
I think I people are going to laugh at me and say you're an idiot. Like I honestly think, I think you take a buck, right? He's a year and a half old, he's horny as hell, he's got smell and all this stuff. He wants to really chase does, and he finds his first doe to meet in a certain area, right? He spends his couple days there because there's 4 or 5 does in that area. He mates with that doe, right? He might mate with it a couple times within a couple of hours, but then he's off to this one and her sister and her baby from last year or whatever. And then the next day he's off and moving, or 2 days from then, after he's mated 2 or 3 of them, he's off to another area, right? And in a week, he's coming all the way back, right? Now we're going to the next year, right? Next whole season, right? I absolutely think that same buck, if he survives, is going to go to the same area where he first got a piece of butt, and then he's going to go to the second one. He got his second piece of butt. Does that make sense? I really think that. I really do.
It's along the same lines that if deer are living on multiple properties, they're going to come back to property B within a 3-day window every year, depending on the weather conditions. They'll hit the same scrapes.
I agree. I do. I've seen it. Yeah, I mean, I really have. But then there's nothing 100% with these damn things. You think you got them figured out, and they throw a bone, and you're done. I mean, it's crazy.
It's weird because the last couple of years, I recall each year, a couple of 3.5-year-olds during peak rut, I would see those bastards every single day. How are you not finding a doe? So I don't know if they're just pricks and humping and dumping or what, but people think big bucks will travel all over the countryside to find does, and I think that's a crock of BS.
I think that a mature doe is going to run her babies off and go find the dominant buck. I absolutely think that myself. She might not like say, "Get the hell out of here! I'm on a mission," but I think that she'll gravitate towards that area she knows that buck's in, as closer as she's ready, if that makes sense. The closer she gets to being ready to be serviced, I should say. But I do think that.
Assuming a big buck, they're not always going to be the most dominant. The oldest, most mature deer, more times than not, is going to be the most dominant. Why would he have to go walk 3 miles to find a doe when he gets done breeding his doe? More likely, he'll find another buck with a doe and just give him the boot.
That's what I'm saying. Like earlier, like that, he's staying in that area. If there's more than one doe there, he's going to be checking them does. Also, he just after the one he just made it with. But nah, it's so crazy. They're such an amazing animal.
They're highly adaptable, even during the rut. 10 years ago, where it's flat where we are, a lot of crop fields, 10, 15 years ago, peak rut, you couldn't drive a mile without seeing a buck bed down in the open field. You don't see that anymore.
No, it's crazy. Yeah.
They don't really chase out in the open either.
No. Mm-mm.
They used to.
Yeah. Why do you think? Just why do you think that? Out that way.
I think they're adaptable. They understand the pressure because my younger years, I used to be able to blind rattle and something come in every time. Maybe I don't rattle anymore unless it's, okay, big buck on a scrape. I will not blind rattle, and that's because it just stopped working. I think they're getting smart enough to know where they hear a rattle, they don't see any fighting going on, they're not going to mess with it.
I agree. I don't even carry a grunt call on me anymore. I've messed too many hunts up with it. I don't think I count on my hand in New Jersey rattling. I let the other guy 200 yards from me rattle and have the buck come and skirt him and say, "Yeah, all right, dude."
I think it's different if it's hilly. Down south Iowa, you can rattle and they'll come. And I think it just, where I'm at, okay, I see this rattle coming from over there, but I don't see anything. So I will not rattle or grunt from peak rut to post rut unless a buck is by himself showing off aggression. Is he making a scrape, hitting a rub? If he's doing that, a grunt and rattle is going to work every time.
I agree. And I think the way they get into that is they are on a doe that is on, I mean, she's ready, but she's just
You
not.
will never call a buck away from a doe. They will always go the opposite direction. I mean, if I'm walking out of the bar with a chick and a guy's cocking off to me, am I going to leave the girl to go mess with this dude? No.
Yeah. No. Nope. Nope. Well, maybe when I was about 18, I might have, but not nowadays. I think you're right. I honestly, I agree 100%.
The more I look back, the more I think about I've had a lot more success getting shots at bigger deers. I've messed up a lot. Thanksgiving weekend.
That's a great weekend. Yeah. I've killed a lot of deer that weekend too. Yeah. I think that is a tough week because shotgun just got over with like a week before and they are like in a mode of pressure, but they're still up. But they're being very ruddy, but very, very cautious. The cautiousness came back because our shotgun in Delaware season is like the second week in November. It's crazy.
Ours is the first week of December, but I've shot at a lot of deer Thanksgiving weekend. I've only shot 2 of them. I think I've missed 4. Every single time I've gotten a shot, I've sat out in the tree stand on a food plot, driving myself crazy because I'm not seeing anything.
Yeah.
Why am I out here staring on my phone? And I look up and there's a big buck just standing out there feeding a couple hours before dark light. It's dead quiet, and you look up and he's there every single time.
Yeah, it's like they warped there or something. It's crazy. Yeah, I run into that a lot. Like in the spots that I hunt, and I was saying that earlier. Like I don't have a whole lot of shots in the spots that I hunt, but I better be ready because a lot of times it's so thick out in front of me. Like I better see his legs coming or a flash of bone because I got to be ready for that hole. And a lot of times, dude, I see the buck I'm after. It's too late. He's past that. There he goes. There's my shot. That happens a lot, dude. It happens a lot, a ton.
Another thing I don't like about blind rattling, you'll be rattling. Most people, they'll kind of look down when they're rattling. They'll look up. But as soon as you set those babies down, he's probably right there and you don't know he's there.
You're probably right. And let me ask you this, and I'm not a very experienced rattler, but I have done and read and seen and heard and a lot of things about it. Have had a lot of experience using a grunt call over the years, but they seem to J hook and come in downwind of what they're trying to find. Do you see that?
They know exactly where the sound's coming from.
Going back to what we were talking about earlier, they want that smell or that sight to see, to whatever you want to call it, to know that something's there. So they'll J hook that wherever that sound's coming from to even smell it.
Well, if I'm grunting, let's say wind's moving from left to right, so the wind's hitting my left ear, and I'm calling, expecting something to come out in front of me, I'll always try my best to grunt into the wind. At least,
Oh, I got you. Yeah.
if it's changes their pinpoint 20 yards upwind to me, it at least helps.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But calling doesn't work like it does 20 years ago.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Yeah. Or 30 years ago. You're right.
Well, it changes pretty fast. So I was doing the coyote thermal hunting for a couple years, and when I first got into it, you could go stand out in an open section, call, coyotes would come in, they'd howl. Now they aren't vocal. You got to work pretty hard to get them away from the woods. So I think people need to start actually getting close to the timber or where they're at instead of just trying to call them out half a mile.
I think a lot of people see these guys, out west and stuff, and these, big channels like everything else, calling them out in the middle of the fields, and they try to mimic that. And like you say, you've learned that you can't do that anymore.
Wildlife adapts pretty fast.
It does. They're very smart animals. I want to one day. I want to go hog hunt. I want to bow hunt hogs one day. Maybe one day. So I don't know where, but that's one thing I do want to do. I do want to bow hunt hogs one day. I think it'd be really fun.
I've wrestled them and killed them with knives before.
Have you really?
The guys in Florida, and we went down there for spring break. year after college, and I messaged that guy. He's going to come on podcast in a couple of weeks, and we're going to talk about that. But they had dogs grabbing them by the ears, and we had killed two. I stabbed the first one. Last one, the dogs just take off dead sprinting, so I run as fast as I can, and it's a big hog, 300 pounds. I just grabbed the back legs.
Are they really aggressive? They say they're really aggressive.
You're talking some pretty mean dogs.
I've heard them dogs are weird. Yeah, I've heard that. Yeah.
But before we wrap this up, we better hear a couple of embarrassing stories. I can't let you off the hook.
Embarrassing stories of hunting or life in general?
We'll stick to hunting if we can.
The most embarrassing hunting story, I will say, I used to hunt with another buddy of mine, which I don't really see much anymore. I got him into hunting, and a matter of fact, it was years ago, and I remember I was using the Keller pendulum sight on my bow, and I shot a small one, right? And I was embarrassed. I shot a very small one, and before that, I used to use screw-in steps, right? Until they outlawed them, and I would carry my stand on my back, Salt 2, Lone Wolf Assault 2, and screw in as I go up, and then get in the stand. And then I would use the same holes as an idiot, being dumb as a young kid, young guy. Well, one popped, I fell out, and then he's, like I said, we used to use walkie-talkie. He says, "Yo, I heard you hit. I've been big boy my whole life. So, are you okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, all right, I just can't breathe." So that was, and then the same night, I finally got up there. I shot a little one. And listen, man, I am very picky on deer I kill. I don't want to kill button bucks. I don't want to kill young does. I don't have nothing against it. Anybody can do whatever they want. But me, I just rather have a big mature doe taken from me than a younger deer because she's already done her thing. Does that make sense? So I was very embarrassed, and he made fun of me the whole way home. And then the next day he drew a picture and was busting my balls for 2 weeks that I killed Bambi and a little deer. That's probably the most embarrassing story I have. I'm a lone wolf, so I don't have many. And then the emu thing was pretty embarrassing. I'm like, dude, what the hell, man?
Did you listen to the episode? I can't remember if it's this week's or last one where I think it's Robert Worley where he shot a small one and his buddy came up and pulled out his handkerchief and wiped the deer's nose off. And Robert's like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "I'm wiping the milk off her nose."
I think I heard that night too. He says, "Man, that's got milk on her lips still." Damn, Lope. Because everybody calls me Lope. Yeah, it's my last name. I've been called that since I was a little kid. And I that's funny you say that because I think somebody said that because my buddy spread the rumor that I'm a baby killer and all that. And he says, I got a message or something. "Yo, man, I heard you kill one with milk on her lips last night." Man, screw you. But it happens to everybody. But
How long did it take you to kill your first deer at the bow?
it was quite a while because I didn't bait. I just went out in the woods, didn't tell what I was doing. I went out in the woods. My brother, like I said, got me into hunting, and he was so busy at the time, but I still wanted to hunt. And then I went out and I sat and I killed a big doe that night. And I'm like, damn, I like this.
How many years in was it?
2. I think my second season I killed a doe. And I'll tell you right now, in 30 years, honestly, I said this earlier, I've always been good at getting deer in front of me. Could be does, but for some reason, I've always been good at reading the sign and getting deer in front of me. Even my first year hunting, my first few 6 or 7 times, I've always had deer come by me. Getting a shot and getting them close enough, 20, 25 yards. I think it was my second season in, and I shot a big doe, and I was like, I drug it him half a mile down the road.
I think I've asked everybody on the podcast, and the average is 4 or 5 years.
Yeah. In all honesty, back then, like, and I think it was 93 or is the first year I started hunting. Like really hunting. Like I used to before that, but seriously got into it. Like there was a ton of deer. I mean, the numbers of deer that were in South Jersey, like we would spot, because you're allowed to spotlight in New Jersey. You are allowed to spotlight as long as you don't have a weapon in your car. Now, Delaware, they can give you a ticket for putting your lights across. They don't know. I mean, it's crazy. You got a lot of outlaw them. That's why they do that. You know what I mean? During the season, you can, if you're blatantly shining your lights in Delaware to see a deer, they can give you a ticket. Back in the 90s, we would shine fields or deer. I'm telling you right now, like there used to be a hotel on Route 47 and right at the line of Cape May and Cumberland County. There'd be 100 deer out there. I mean, but now, if I was to shine that field, there might be six or eight. I don't know what the hell happened to them, but like we had a huge die off of deer for some reason in South Jersey in the late 90s and 2000. I think the state had a lot to do with it because of car insurance. I really, really do. I really do. Because here's a fun fact. Sound like Sheldon Cooper now. Fun fact. When I was a correction officer, I took a detail out that released coyotes in New Jersey. One of the first batches of coyotes in South Jersey. And my brother-in-law, yes, my brother-in-law did the same thing. He took the fishing game guys out one day that week. They released so many coyotes because people were bitching about the deer numbers. And there is coyotes eating dogs in Cape May Point. They jump the fence and eat people's pets. There's so many coyotes in New Jersey now. It's crazy off the hook. And we're having a huge turkey problem now because Jersey was probably one of the best turkey states there is, man. There is turkeys everywhere for numbers. But you know what? I've seen a huge drop off in turkeys in the last 10 years because I think of grave robbers or not grave, nest robbers, coyotes, foxes. Nobody traps. There's no money in it. So that's a big thing, man. So, and I don't think if you come to New Jersey, there isn't places like out west where you can set up like you guys were saying to kill coyotes in big fields. It's set up like that. It's all wood. There's very little farms left in New Jersey. Maybe up in the Vineland area, Mill May, up that way a little bit, but in South Jersey, very, very little, very little.
I think Wisconsin's having wolf issues, and I'm guessing they probably release the same reason.
Definitely.
But there's hardly any deer where the wolves are.
It's a shame, man. It's a shame. It's just, and then they want to make, Jersey has made it so expensive to hunt there. Like, I think I paid almost $270 some as a resident hunter to hunt New Jersey and deer last year. And I didn't get my duck stamp. I didn't get my hip number. I didn't get a trap stamp. I didn't get my fishing license. I get all around sportsman, covers fall and winter bow, right? So that's $72. And then every buck permit, you got to buy a buck permit for every single season. Every buck permit is $28. And then you have to buy a permit to hunt permit bow season. That's $28. Then you have to buy a permit to hunt muzzleloader season. That's $28. And a muzzleloader permit, which is $10. Then you have to buy doe permits to hunt doe season and a buck tag, which is both $28 times 2. It's crazy, dude. It's nuts. It's off the hook. Jersey's super liberal state. They want to do away with hunting, but they want to do it in a way where nobody knows the deer are dying off, I guess. I mean, my guess.
That's unfortunate.
But that's the East Coast, baby.
East Coast, man. Glad to be in Iowa, but I appreciate you coming on, man. It's been great visiting with you, and conversation really rolled. I didn't expect to be on this long.
Yeah, anytime, man. I had a great time. I appreciate it. Sorry about the little personal stuff earlier and the little emotion. I get emotion like that a lot, but
Dude, don't worry.
I apologize to your viewers for that, but I try to stay real, man. It's a real life, and I had a good time, man. Thank you. I appreciate it.
You bet, man. You'll have to tell all your buddies about it. I've been trying to stockpile just in case I decide to do two a week during hunting season, or if people can't become available. But this will be, I think, the second week of June. And I think I have three other people on the schedule. If I get 10 weeks ahead, I might save them, run 2 during the season or something.
Might be able to get Andre on there for you if you're interested in Andre. It's up. I got you. Yeah. But
it's not my cup of tea, man.
I always offer guys that, but I understand, and that's what I do. That's why I turned down being on that team. I turned down being on the Beast team. I was going to be the East Coast guy, and I don't want all that. That's not what I want, and I get it.
If I'm trying to grow a podcast based off real hunters, relatable stuff, and famous people start wanting to come on, then I'll kind of feel like a sellout. It's not a promotion podcast. It's a podcast for the real life hunter.
for real hunters. I call them blue collar. I think I said that to you before. Blue collar hunters.
So I'm going to stick to my guns, man. No influencers, maybe small ones, but no TV star hunters.
Yeah. And look, man, anything you need, I'm always here. I love helping people. I don't want anything. I don't need anything. Yeah, I mean, so anytime, bro.
Tell all your buddies and we'll be in touch. Thanks again for joining us on another episode of A Hunter's Legacy. Remember, hunting isn't just about the harvest. It's about the journey and the legacy we all leave behind. Be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share this podcast with all the other hunters in your life. And if you have a story to tell, we'd love to hear it, because every hunter has a legacy worth sharing.